welcome back to Elevator Talks, where we talk about everything in relation to movies, TV shows, and everything in between. Today we're going to talk about Tenet, so the highly anticipated cinematic release and the 11th feature, I believe, from Christopher Nolan, who you may know from Inception or Dunkirk. Tenet was a highly anticipated release for 2020, and of course, due to the pandemic, everything was pushed back. And it's finally been released. I think it was released in the UK on the 27th of August and similar here as well in Australia. And it will be released on September 3rd in the US. So by the time this review comes up, hopefully enough people would have watched it. I watched it twice over the weekend, which I highly recommend because it's a immensely dense and very sort of complicated storyline to follow, and a very, it's not for the weak mind. I'll say that right now. And let me tell you, like, even after watching it 2 times, I'm still so confused about so many different things. For the most part, I think that the reviews are fairly positive at this stage. Again, it hasn't been released worldwide, as yet. So again, we have more audiences to, it has more audiences to reach. And we don't know what it's going to do like in the box office because of the pandemic, but I mean, it does have, I think, over a $250 million budget, so I do hope that people go and watch it because it does look like a film that has, people put a lot of time and effort into, and, obviously, if you're going to go watch it, please abide by your state laws and make sure that you're socially distancing and that you're safe. When I went to watch it, actually, for the first time, I was the only person in the cinema, so that was not by design, I went to watch it, I think 2:30 in the afternoon, and I was the only person in the cinema, so that was very interesting. I've never experienced that in my life. I felt so rich, but I only paid $13 for the ticket, and I got a whole cinema to myself. Anyways, that's beside the point. Let's talk about Tenet real quick. I'll try not to give a lot of spoilers, but even if I give spoilers, I promise you, you're not going to get anything from what I say because it's such a complex and dense sort of film to follow. Tenet, which I think refers to sort of the foundation of things, in its definition itself, the word. Hold on, I will find out. Tenet, the word itself, refers to a principle or belief, especially one of the main principles of a religion or a philosophy, or an establishment. I think it is supposed to mean a foundation of something. So Tenet stars John David Washington, whose previous work include BlacKkKlansman, and he also was in the show Ballers from HBO. And then Robert Pattinson, who is our next Batman, and even though he is our next Batman, in this film he plays more of a Robin type of role. Both of them shine really well. I am extremely happy for John David Washington, who takes on the lead role in this film. He's an African American man, and we want more black men in the lead role and in a film that is not so much focused on, the black pain or, black misery, but, is seen as pretty much a standard normal role. So I think it's very good in terms of representation. There were other men of color in this film, and we also had a famous Indian actress by the name of Dimple Kapadia, who played the role of Priya, an arms dealer who used her husband as a front for her business. I remember she said in a scene, "It helps to have a man front your business in a man's world." It's true because no one expects a woman to do her job. So that was pretty cool. I think it was also Elizabeth Debicki, who is Australian, who is supposed to be Princess Diana in The Crown. So she was great in the film. But yeah, the cast, everything was fantastic. So basically, just long story short, I'm not going to go too much into the synopsis because, you can Google it and you can obviously go watch the film if it's safe for you to do so in this time. But Tenet basically revolves around this idea of inverse entropy, or a reverse chronological order of things. Basically, things going backwards. Now, as is to do with any sort of action thriller film, you have the protagonist, which actually John David Washington's character is called the protagonist, but you have the protagonist trying to, save the world or save the day in some sort of capacity. I guess the main villain in this film is this whole concept of time inversing and time going backwards, and how, these characters maneuver this technology or this reversed chemistry, I guess, or reverse technology, and how they come to grasp with understanding, how to overcome the challenges that's before them. Now, I won't lie, this movie confused me a lot. I think most of the time it's because I really couldn't hear a thing. I think a lot of the words that were spoken were just so fast and just so like, everything was just happening so fast that like you really had to focus. And again, like I said, if you only watch it once, I don't think you're getting the full experience. I think you should watch it twice, 3 times if you're even lucky to do so. I wish I could go watch it again, but 2.5 hours, I don't know, my attention span. Actually, funnily, my best friend said that it's interesting because during this pandemic quarantine time, we've all been watching, Netflix and like a lot of streaming services. Like, we haven't been to cinemas because everything's been locked down. So it's been, we're so used to, pausing and restreaming and rewatching this and that to have your whole attention for 2.5 hours on a particular film is difficult. And I found it extremely difficult. But nevertheless, it was still a great experience. I still do love movies and I don't care. It was Christopher Nolan, so obviously I was going to watch it. I would say that Tenet reminded me a lot of the Netflix series Dark. So I was able to understand Tenet a little bit more because I had watched and written and analyzed Dark on a much sort of like deeper level. So if you don't know, Netflix's Dark also sort of discusses this sort of time travel between different worlds and, time loops. It's not exactly the same as Tenet, but watching Dark, because Dark is also a super complicated show, so I feel like if you understand Dark, you'll probably understand Tenet. Or if you've watched time travel or time lapse or time reversing sort of shows or series or movies or whatever, it makes Tenet an easier watch, because the concept itself of inverse entropy and reverse chronological order is difficult to grasp. And I think that that's probably by design. That's what Christopher Nolan does with a lot of his work anyway. It's just a lot of like read between the lines. I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you, which is great, but you have to focus as an audience. It doesn't just come easy to you. So the action starts pretty much as soon as you start watching the film. The first scene that we see is our protagonist, John David Washington. He's in this mission. Basically, he fails at this mission. They capture him, they try to torture him. He takes a death pill and he thinks he's dead, but then he wakes up and the CIA people tell him, oh, this was a test. We wanted to see if you're able to come to the other side, and now we're going to get you to work on this thing called Tenet, which is basically this organization that deals with the time inversing and time in reversing. I don't know, I'm sorry, confusing, I understand. So when he's invited to look into Tenet, he basically goes into this whole journey of trying to find out what Tenet is, what exactly this whole time inversing technology, I guess you can call it technology is like, who invented it, who's making it happen. And then basically the film is like this whole mission of trying to uncover Tenet. Then there's this really interesting storyline of saving Elizabeth Debicki's character, which is like, her name's Kat, I believe, and saving her out of this abusive relationship with the antagonist of the film, which I thought was very interesting. I feel like the relationship between our protagonist and Kat, obviously I don't think it was like, I wouldn't say it was romantic in nature, but I'm not quite sure what it was either. So yeah, I think usually, you have the hero saving the girl because he loves her, blah blah, but I think in this case, it was more, I guess, because it was the right thing to do. So let's quickly talk about some of the themes that Tenet discusses. From my perspective, I think that Tenet really does talk about this whole idea of time traveling and time looping and time bending. I think it's very interesting how creators have this fascination, especially writers have this fascination with time. Yeah, if I could inverse that back up, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Oh, rude. As I was saying, I think it's very interesting that a lot of people like to write in these time traveling, time looping sort of storylines. I think it's very sort of indicative of who we are as humans, and always trying to understand this idea of being in control of time, having more time, being able to bend time to our will. Even though I think it's something that probably will never happen, or maybe I probably won't see that happen in my lifetime. But I love to see it through a Christopher Nolan film. I mean, who wouldn't want to go back to last year before coronavirus? I mean, I could use some time inversing technology for then. Cool thing though, Tenet was onto something, because they were wearing those masks. Yeah, I'm not going to give away as to why they do that, but they were COVID ready. That's what I'm going to say about that. I think the other interesting theme about Tenet is the sort of connection with yourself and with others through time. I think it sort of deals with the importance of relationships and friendships and sort of like timeless and boundless connections that you may have with people, which I think is a sweet, it's a sweet message. Hey hooligans, just another quick note on a recurring theme as well that's in the Tenet film. You'll see throughout the film that Robert Pattinson's character Neil always illuminates the fact that despite being able to inverse time, things will still happen the way it's meant to be. And I think sort of the fight scenes show that. Regardless of what they do, they still do have to fight, go through warfare, be injured, and experience pain and loss. So the concept of time inverse, even if it's cool, it does not actually erase how things are meant to be. And that's basically it. Thanks. It's so interesting as well that one of the narratives of the show is this man who has been heartbroken and doesn't get what he wants, and he wants to then destroy the entire world just because he doesn't get what he wants, or doesn't get the person that he loves, which I think is that a nod to toxic masculinity? I don't know, maybe, which is cool. I thought that was an interesting thing. Tenet also discusses the ideas of the future, which again, writers are obsessed with. But yeah, what will happen in the future? What sort of technology will we create? What sort of future will happen because of the things that we're doing now? It's interesting, right? Like, you live the theater thinking, and if it's not like I said there's not enough things to think about in 2020, but why is this thing falling? I mean, honestly, time inversing would work so well right now. Come on, man, stay up. That's basically it for my takeaway of Tenet. I definitely think that my opinion is limited, and I only took some things out from the 2 times that I watched it. But yeah, definitely go watch Tenet in the cinemas. Go support the film. A lot of money was put into it. Obviously do it with the constraints of what is safe for you and your community. Abide to your state laws. Wear a mask. Sanitize your hands. Wash your hands. Social distance. Because, if you don't, your future self is going to time inverse back to you and slap you in the face and put on a damn mask on your face, because it's gonna be like, yo, we're in a pandemic. Take care of yourself, child. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for bearing with my blabbing. And I definitely think there will be a second Tenet movie. I 100% believe that the way that the film ended, I think that's gonna happen. So Christopher Nolan, if you're looking for somebody to time inverse, I volunteer as tribute. Have a great week, guys. Bye.